Greetings, and welcome to my page, Night We Pay Rent, Now Fix It. I'm here having a conversation with newly elected City Council member, Christopher Marte. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We did hear a little bit from you a few days ago at our last TA meeting, particularly concerning the participatory budget. But as a result of COVID, a lot of people weren't able to attend, so this will be an opportunity for them to hear you as well. The first thing I want to talk about is there anything that's immediately in your view that you want to address? Or are there several things on the agenda that you want to address?
Outside of participatory budgeting?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we feel like our biggest mandate from our election was to pass the Chinatown Working Group. And so I've been working with our new land use director, Connor, and my team and activists on the ground of developing an updated report that's based off the 2008 Pratt report to the Chinatown Working Group. So we could introduce it to city planning so we could get the ball rolling. This will help preserve affordability in our community, and it will mandate new affordable housing everywhere throughout the district, whether you live on the waterfront, you live on Bowery and Grand, or if you live on Rutgers and Madison. And so I feel like this is the best way to protect the Lower East Side and Chinatown.
Okay. Is that the only thing, or is there like a main thing that's allowing, private developers to fast forward in taking these developments in NYCHA? In December alone, there were at least two back-to-back developments that were taken over, and it's like it's nonstop. And you really wonder what, if anything, is in the way of the continuation of this, particularly in the midst of needed repairs.
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about zoning, right? If you can restrict what gets developed, that's changing the rules of the game. And right now on the Lower East Side, everything is mostly as of right. And so people can come in and develop the Xtel Tower again if they wanted to. And so the only way we're going to have a voice, and the only way as a council person I can stop it within the city process, is by putting new zoning in our neighborhoods that allow that to happen. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference if we pass the Chinatown Working Group quickly than not. Because right now people can come into our neighborhoods, develop what they like, and it takes our community, the only way we actually get to fight is through the courts, which sometimes we've been successful. A lot of times it's been really hard because we don't have the resources to fight the city every single time they try to do this. And so by applying a new zoning policy to our community, it gives us leverage to say what we want in our own community.
Okay. What happened? Did something happen, that suddenly opened up the gateway? Was there like a revision or change in the zoning? Because it seems like all of a sudden, buildings went up all over the place, particularly on the Lower East Side. It's like you blink and there's 3 new buildings. And was there a current zoning plan that got revised that sort of opened up the floodgates?
I believe it was mostly due to rezoning the East Village. So there was this plan that initially it wanted to include Chinatown, Lower East Side, and protect the whole neighborhood stemming from 14th Street down to the Smith houses. However, what they did instead in 2008 was to only rezone the East Village. And so it put height limitations and protections there, but then it made our community a lot more vulnerable. And instead of having more development there, it pressured it further down to the Lower East Side and Chinatown. And so there wasn't a zoning in our neighborhood. There was a lack of rezoning in our neighborhood to protect us from that threat.
Okay, I see. All right, so I want to get into the participatory budgeting. I'm learning more about it myself. And I think it's something that residents, particularly on the Lower East Side, really need information on and would like to hear about. How do we persuade tenants to participate in a process that allows them to simply state or suggest what should be put in their neighborhood when they're living in conditions that require that they habitually beg and plead for basics in service, heat and hot water. So now presenting to them, oh, you can make a suggestion and you can get this built, we'll fund it, is like, get out of here. So go ahead, elaborate. I'd like to hear, your thoughts concerning that.
Yeah, so let me just say what the program is for folks who, if this is new to you. So participatory budgeting is an amazing process where we actually give residents and people in our district the power to suggest projects that could be funded almost immediately. And so right now we're in the submission phase where anyone that wants a new bench, a new water fountain, to fix their playground, maybe your school library needs some repairing or some investments, you can go to our participatory website page and submit an idea. It doesn't have to be too detailed. It could just really be general, just pinpointing the issue as you see. And what happens is that on January 23rd, the submissions close and we send it to the committees and the agencies to review the proposal. And then in the springtime, we actually get to vote on which projects get funded. And so we'll have a ballot, just like when you go and vote every year. And we'll have a full week where we organize the community, set up booths throughout the neighborhood and table around the district so people can vote on which projects they want to fund. And so this is a great way where we can get kids up from the age of 14 years old to submit projects, to vote on projects, and really change how they deal with government in a different way. And that's why this is the first thing I wanted to do as a council member, because we just want to change the culture of how people interact with our office. Like, we want to come to you, we want you to be proactive, we want to listen to you, but more importantly, we're not just going to listen, we're going to make sure that we get to fix, create, or do what you want.
I just want to clarify, when you say project, you don't mean an actual literal project. You're talking about their suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you explain a little bit about that process? Do they take all suggestions, or is there a process of elimination before they actually get to the voting?
So it really depends on the suggestion, and because there are limits of how much money we can spend. So typically for capital projects, it has to cost at least $50,000. And for expense funds, which is like different programs, it has to be at least $5,000. And so what we'll do, we'll send it to the agencies. They'll do an analysis of how much something will cost and if it's something we can do. And we'll communicate to the person that submitted it if it's going to move through, if there's things we can change. But this is a process we want to do every single year. And so, maybe if we don't get it through this time, we can work to build it out to make sure it meets those requirements for next year's cycle.
Okay. Did you say expense process projects?
Yeah.
So this also includes, like, if somebody wants to fund a particular organization, is that what you mean when you say expense process? What is that?
Not a program, but a service, like a after school program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so services.
Yeah.
Does the service have to already be existing?
No, it could be a new program.
Brand new. So if somebody comes up with an idea for a particular service in their community, they can submit that?
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at what it is, but we can follow up with that person.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to hold you too long because I know you have a lot of things to do. Is there anything else that you want to share?
There's a lot of things that we want to do, whether it's like stop the Chinatown jail that the mayor has been proposing. We want to make sure that our neighborhoods continue to be resilient. But hopefully this is not the last time that I'm on, and we can have this conversation throughout the year and just keep people updated on what we're doing as an office.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Speaking of jails, did they actually close Rikers?
They haven't closed Rikers, but it's stated to close by 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
And you want to share any opinions on the new mayor's policy concerning policing?
Well, I think we're gonna.
The reinforcement of stops and frisks?
Well,
Would
we
you like-
only have a few minutes, but I think we should not do stop and frisk. For me, I've been stopped and frisked as a kid. I know the trauma. It changed the way I live my life every day because I chose not to go to the subway station where I was stopped and frisked. And so for me, I know even years later, and looking back at that experience, what it made me do and how it made me act. And I didn't even have the worst encounter. Imagine everyone else that, was arrested, got searched, got pushed. And so for me, I'm gonna really try to push back on that as a council member.
I agree. And I'd love to talk to the mayor myself concerning why he's so convinced that it can be carried out without any violations and brutality, particularly after becoming a cop, and knowing how they function. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about the mayor.
And one last thing I want to add, because we mentioned about nonprofits. If nonprofits want to get discretionary funding from the city, there's a separate process that they can fill out, and the deadline for that is February 22nd. They could reach out to my office, and we have a budget director now on board that can help them with that process.
Great. Okay, anything else? We will continue this in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe streamline it to one specific topic. I don't know, it depends on what's going on at the time, right? So anyway, thank you so much for sitting here and just having this conversation. I'm sure there'll probably be a lot more questions concerning some of the things that were shared. And that's a good thing if people are asking questions. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll share you with all the links so people can start submitting ideas.
Great.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.